I was surprised to see that only one of our friends recognized who Hoagie is. My name is Hogard Geervers from Howick in KZN, South Africa. I have been so blessed in being able to fulfill so many of my dreams and aspirations with regards to travel. I have done more than 400,000 kilometers of adventure travel, basically divided into 3 categories. Number 1, exploring the Zambezi River from Barotse in Zambia to Lake Kariba Wall in Zimbabwe, enjoying my passion of tiger fishing for around 60 weeks. 2, touring through the United States in an RV for the equivalent of 4 years over a 9-year period. 3, motorcycle trips into Lesotho, as well as exploring many of the mountain passes in southern Africa. Do I still have a bucket list? Most certainly I do, but some, if not all, are now out of reach because of age and other factors. A bucket list is what keeps you alive. It invigorates you and inspires you. It's what keeps us young. We have been blessed with witnessing 4 space shuttle launches from Kennedy Space Center. I have sat in the capsule that Alan Shepard first flew into space with. I have chatted to astronauts and still dream about a flight to the ISS or in even Elon Musk's Starship Super Heavy. Despite our age, we can still dream. It's what keeps us motivated and focused. Now I'm learning the intricacies of launching a YouTube channel. Got to keep the mind active and engaged. So if there are some glitches in my presentation, please bear with me, as this is a new learning experience. Having traveled so extensively, I have made my share of mistakes and have at times faced serious challenges. I have followed the adventure of Aaron Ralston into the Blue John Canyon and Steve Fossett's demise, in which he lost his life in the Sierra Nevada. Friends, there's nothing wrong with having dreams, of having a bucket list, and traveling where no man's gone before. But the one thing that we must realize is that we all only have one life. And how we do things and how well we prepare for those adventures is what determines whether or not we survive and stay alive. We have a responsibility to our families and loved ones, and they desperately need us to stay alive. As we fulfill our dreams, the purpose of this channel, therefore, is to provide guidance to adventurers before they embark on their next adventure. It is a platform where I plan to invite other adventure travelers into my studio to share their experiences so that we can all improve our knowledge to better ensure that we stay alive on our future adventures. At the end of the day, if I can only save a single life, then I believe the entire effort will have been worthwhile. Let us now share the short introductory video. It's not about my travels and adventures, but rather about yours. It's about optimizing returning alive from all your adventures. Spare a thought for the wives who are deeply concerned when their husbands take off on yet another adventure. But wait, is that really all your life is worth? One day, you may face a life-threatening situation, and in a flash, this moment, this opportunity will flash before your eyes. How relieved you will be if you made the right choice. Look before you, look behind you. God created us all different, We don't have the same DNA or fingerprint. Yet despite that, we all have one thing in common. What is that, you ask? We all only have one life. We need to treat the one life that we have with the utmost respect, for failing to do so could mean the end of our dreams, our bucket list, our hopes, our aspirations, and sadly in most cases also those of our entire family, for whom we are responsible, care and provide. Also realize, when you invite along a friend, that your choices and decisions you make extend to your friends' families and those that they are responsible for. I want to engage with you. I want to hear about your dreams and exciting plans, providing guidance along the way based upon my personal experience. If at the end of the day I only succeed in saving a single life, then this entire effort will have been worthwhile. Could that one life possibly be yours? I have created a closed Ask Hoagie Facebook group where we can interact and share our experiences with other like-minded subscribers, thereby becoming safer adventurers, maximizing enjoyment while minimizing risk. I would strongly encourage you to take the step right now to register as a subscriber. Ring that bell to ensure that you are kept informed about all videos posted on my channel and not have regrets in a moment of danger for opting for the exit button. Your life, your future is in your hands. Planning of your adventure cannot start before you have decided on your destination. Never overlook the adventure opportunities in your backyard. Bear in mind that other people sometimes travel thousands of miles to visit attractions in your backyard. With a high cost of fuel these days, this warrants careful consideration. Planning and preparation begins the moment you commit to a destination, not a week before you leave. Never leave anything to the last minute. Your adventure should begin the moment you leave home. Do not imagine for a moment that the adventure only begins when you reach your destination. Failure to do so leads to impatience and frustration when you encounter an unexpected delay on your journey, and can lead to tensions in your group. If you can afford the time, opt for the scenic route in preference to the highway. There's just so much more to see if you take the time. Accommodation should be flexible if possible. If you have to book, then ensure your daily travel distance is not too much. I know that you have had times where you travelled 400 miles or more in your life, but not when you're on vacation and wish to enjoy your adventure. This also depends on the type of vehicle you're travelling in and whether or not you're pulling a trailer. Generally speaking, a daily distance, while on good roads, should be at a maximum of 200 miles. Stop for breakfast, stop for lunch, smell the roses. You're not in a race. Bear in mind that when you're on vacation and going on an adventure, you are more heavily loaded than when you're driving in and around town. Know what your fuel consumption is likely to be in the conditions you will be driving in once at your destination. Know the distance of your adventure and estimate your fuel requirement, and then double it. I know it's a lot to carry, but believe me, when you are in a remote location, fuel is one of the most important items not to run out of. Without fuel, you're not going anywhere. Know the dangers and risks you might face at your destination. Research what animals you're likely to encounter. Take an electrified sheep fence if necessary to protect your camp from wild animals. Consider taking a firearm if permitted at the destination. If not, a taser or catapult might be worth considering. Do not leave anything to chance. Know as much as possible about your destination. Identify closest buildings, villages, cell phone towers, clinics, hospitals, police stations, etc., etc. When Murphy puts in an appearance, have a strategy in mind. We will deal with these issues in greater detail in the webinar. Identify who is going to be part of the group. Meet regularly with all members and plan together. Don't leave it to one person to do it all. If something happens to that individual, what then? All members of the group must be fully informed to take your place should you be incapacitated for any reason. This was already mentioned earlier and is of vital importance to ensure that you are adequately prepared and equipped for challenges that you might face. Do not rely on your limited slip diff. There is a reason why certain types of terrain require the benefits offered by a four-wheel drive vehicle. If possible, contact people who have experienced conditions at your destinations and learn from their advice. Probably one of the most challenging aspects of adventure travel. I know that SUV specifications are generally conservative and have built-in safety margins. I have been there myself many times and have too often placed my trust in the strength and durability of SUVs, and yet they have never failed me. We must always remember that on adventure trips the terrain and the conditions are vastly different to the roads we normally travel on back home, mostly with no load to speak of. In off-road conditions, manufacturers generally recommend you do not exceed 60% of design capacity, but sadly, most of the time, this simply is not possible. The answer here lies in driving responsibly, slowly, and with great caution. Taking a trailer often is the solution to weight and balance issues, but can be a handicap in certain driving conditions. If there is a need for a trailer, identify your campsites and make your way there in the best conditions possible. Then unhitch and do exploring of the difficult, more challenging sections without the trailer. Establish bases of operation. I have already made reference to the question of fuel consumption in loaded and off-road conditions. This is important information, and today we are blessed to have the internet and thereby draw on the experience of other users in similar vehicles to ours under challenging conditions. When it comes to fuel, always carry as much as possible with a good safety margin. Comes down to adequate research of conditions at your destination. You have the internet? Use it. Join 4x4 forums, especially those that cover the area of your destination. Forewarned is forearmed. Do I need a winch depends again to a large extent on the nature of the terrain you will be operating in. I had a winch on most of my 4x4 vehicles, but to be honest, I have only ever had to use it on less than 6 occasions. The reality is that in adventure travel, we never know when Murphy is going to throw us a curved ball, so my advice is to have one fitted for just in case. The day will come where it will come in handy, and besides that, a bull bar and a winch look great on your SUV. For similar reasons, as explained in the previous slide, the day will come when you will find a useful application for it in adventure travel. My advice is to fit one, even if you don't ever pull a trailer. A good quality hemp rope is also a useful piece of equipment to carry on your adventure, and should be around 3/4 inch thick, and probably at least 20 meters in length. Go with more than one vehicle, so that you can help one another should a vehicle get stuck or develop some sort of problem. Having 2 vehicles all but halves the risk associated with such adventure. Security nets are essential if you're traveling in an open SUV with an uncovered bin. When in off-road conditions, the SUV at times rocks from side to side, and you can easily lose part of your cargo and only realize it when you next need the item. It is always a good idea to carry a selection of nylon ropes, as when you are out in bundu bashing, as we say in South Africa, there will always be a need to secure or tie down something or other. A good selection of ropes is an essential part of your kit. I have already mentioned the aspect earlier in my presentation, but I mention it again here because of its importance. There is little more daunting than to suddenly be confronted by a wild animal you were not expecting. Murphy is just waiting for that opportunity to disrupt your lives, and so ensure that you are well informed on what you can expect. This is very important consideration when undertaking adventure travel, and you should consider nominating someone back home to take whatever action is required when, for whatever reason, you don't come back, get lost, or are delayed. This is an important aspect and is dealt with specifically in one of my later presentations. Of all the challenges you will face, this is probably the most important of all. We are so used to having devices at our fingertips and are in touch and contact with the world 24/7. Not the case when you're in a location where no man's gone before. This important aspect requires serious consideration and attention in your planning. It is important that the coordinator you nominate at home is fully aware of your entire adventure, routes, locations, dates, timing, etc., and that he is updated as frequently as is possible on your progress and any departure from your original plans. Possibly on a par with the need for communication mentioned earlier, the risk of drinking untested water in these remote places can bring with it all sorts of medical situations you do not want or need when on your adventure. You can survive without food for several weeks, but only for 3 days without water. As a minimum, you need to carry 2 liters of potable water for each member of your group for the duration of your adventure. You can consider carrying a suitable filter and/or boil the water, subject to the availability of water sources in your area of operation.